What is up, film fans? Welcome back to Friday Night Filmdom, your one-stop shop for pop culture and movie news, views, and rants. I'm your host, Rob Metcalf, and this is our spoiler review of Episode 5 of the Disney Plus series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, if the title didn't give it away, this will be an open spoiler discussion, so if you haven't had a chance to watch the episode yet, go ahead, click the favorites, pause it, come back to it once you see it so we don't ruin it for you. Now, joining me, as always, is Bucky's future wife, Jenna Johnson. Jenna, how you doing tonight?
I'm even better now that you announced me as Bucky's future wife. Good. We're good.
I gotta come up with something creative every episode, so that's where we're going now. Which, if he offered, you wouldn't turn him down. So.
Oh God, no. No. Who knows? I may be the one to propose. So.
Fair enough. I could totally see that happening. That's why I will never let you say anything to him at a panel ever, because you'll do it for everybody to see. So what'd you think of this episode? I mean, because it was a lot, really fast and really heavy.
This episode was mind-blowing in many different ways. And I am shook by a lot of it. Some of it did not surprise me, where other parts did, especially a certain cameo that we received this week. But, it was, out of all 5 episodes so far, this is my top favorite.
I wouldn't say it's my top favorite, because I think I did like last week's better, especially with the cliffhanger we got left on with John beating the guy with the shield. Because I don't know if we could have a more iconic MCU moment out of this series than that right there. But I don't know. I could be proven wrong by the time this series is over. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But speaking of John beating the dude to death with the shield, we pick up right where the last episode left off, with John kind of running off from the scene of the quote-unquote crime. And, Bucky and Sam start pursuing him. They find him, and we get probably one of the best action scenes we've seen out of the series so far. Kind of harkened back a lot to the battle in Civil War when Bucky and Cap were fighting, especially the way it was shot, a lot of the movements, fight styles. It just kind of reversed a little bit this time. But
it did. It was good to see, but it was an amazing fight sequence. And that's one thing I love about this series so far, because correct me if I'm wrong, I think every episode has started out with an action sequence to kind of like start us out.
Actually, yeah, I do believe you are correct.
So, I absolutely love to see that, and it's not a gradual build-up. We're automatically in the action. Now let's descale a little bit and get back to the plot. So, I really enjoy that.
Yep. Now, we knew last week that John had taken the super soldier serum, but it became a little more obvious watching him fight Sam and Bucky how powerful he actually is. I feel like if they wouldn't have been together, that he probably would have taken either one of them one-on-one.
Oh, very possibly. Very, very possibly.
But it also makes me think back, like, the times that we seen Steve and Bucky fight, how much Steve was probably holding back with that serum, because Steve was probably more powerful than even John is, and John was giving Bucky a run for his money, so Steve was definitely pulling some punches, holding back.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the characters. Even Steve is pulling his punches; he's not fighting to kill the person, whereas John wants murder. You can see the murder in his eyes, and that's ultimately the difference between the two, and why John will never be acknowledged as like a good Captain America.
Yep. When you really see the fire in his eyes is when he says that line, like, I am Captain America, like when he's on top of Sam. Or is it Bucky? Was it Sam or Bucky he was on top of? Was it Sam?
I can't remember. I really can't.
But either way, when he was on top of one of them and he says that line, like, I am Captain America, like, 100%. That's never something Steve would say while he's attacking somebody.
No, and in fact, somebody went through, and I saw it. It was either on Tumblr or on TikTok. Somebody went through, and Steve only said, "I am Captain America" one time throughout all the movies, and that was when he was talking to Peggy on Howard's plane, and he was dropping down, going into the POW camp to release the 107th. He was like, "I'm Captain America," like he outranked her, but he was doing it jokingly. He never did it to pull his rank on anybody.
Right, right. Now, I know when they kind of first show up, Sam's trying to, be Sam and talk down John. But Bucky's just there to, like, kick some ass and take some names. Because, like, Bucky kind of looks at him and he's like, oh no, we want to do this. But Bucky knew what he was walking into when they walked in. Like, Sam was hoping maybe they wouldn't, but Bucky knew what was going to happen. Like we were saying, it was very obvious that John was out for blood. It came really obvious when he's on top of Sam screaming, "I am Captain America." And also when he just like takes his bare hands and rips Sam's wings off. I was like, oh God.
Well, there we go. No more Falcon. I'm telling you, he's going to walk away from this whole show as Captain America.
Well, that's become completely obvious because he don't even have the Falcon uniform anymore. As we kind of speculated before, he's kind of dumped it off to Torres. So my question is, do you think we'll see Torres put on the wings this last episode, or do you think that's something we'll see later down the road in the MCU?
I would like to. It just depends on how quickly he was able to get like the wings back to working order. Or create some kind of wing. I would like to see him come into episode 6, which I have a feeling is going to be an all-out battle royale. I would like to see him come in and help out with that, and then be officially, Falcon in the MCU. But who knows? With Marvel, they may lead you in one direction and go completely opposite in like a swift turn. So.
Right, but I think it's been setting that up for way too long. I think that is what we'll see. Now, toward the end of this fight, they finally have to work together. Sam's using the thrusters, Bucky's beating him up. They end up breaking John's arm and getting the shield back finally. We've been waiting on this. We've been speculating it would happen every episode since like episode 3. So we've been waiting a little bit, but
I mean, they show us a training montage in the very beginning of the trailers, and then it's like, we're just gonna hold off till episode 5. They can, they're gonna want this. We're just gonna, let the anticipation build, and then it'll be even sweeter. And
it really was. It was. It was totally worth the wait, especially seeing how they got it back. And then when, Bucky's holding the shield, he just like drops it to Sam. Like, okay, you have my approval. Like, don't lose it this time. Don't give it away. Like, yes. So that was good to see that. I feel like that was kind of Bucky's smart ass way of giving his like blessing to Sam to kind of take it on.
Absolutely. And Bucky has been passive aggressive towards Sam. Well, everybody. He's a grumpy old man, okay? He's 106. He's lived a long time.
If I was 106, I'd be grumpy too. So.
It's, he's been passive aggressive the entire season. And, it was just kind of par for the course. He's like, here you go, kid. But. Mm-hmm.
So after that's all over, we kind of cut to another scene where they're. I want to call it the trial scene with John Walker, but I don't know if it was really a trial, as more of just this is what's happening to you, kind of a court-martial type of thing. Yeah. But basically they're saying, we're stripping you of your Captain America title, all your government benefits. Like, basically, if you wouldn't have been such a good guy before this, we'd have thrown you under the jail, but we're going to give you a pass. And it kind of seems that's just kind of where they went with that. Of course he's upset, because, I mean, who wouldn't be in that situation? I mean, your best friend dies, you do something kind of stupid, you're going to have to pay the consequences. I I'll admit I was a little wrong on that because there's part of me that thought the government might back him on it since it was part of a terrorist organization of who he killed.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice to see that they actually held somebody responsible for their mistake.
Right.
Because that's not how I kind of expected it to happen. Now, the line in this that actually really got to me and made me think of like all kinds of PTSD and all that kind of stuff soldiers go to is when John says, I was only doing what you trained me to do, what you asked me to do. I thought that was a very real kind of line to give him in that situation. But then after that, John's back sitting off talking to his wife. And all of a sudden we start hearing these footsteps. And then you start seeing some shoes, and you're like, high heels. Like, who's coming? Who's coming? Who's coming? Like, it's getting ready to be something big because of the way they're kind of hiding it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I will say this, though, from a fashion standpoint, those boots were amazing.
Yep, chef's kiss to that one.
She may have complained, but they were amazing. Okay, now back to the story.
But in walks Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I always have a hard time with that name. And in the MCU, she is playing. Okay, I had to write this down to make sure I get this right because this name is ridiculous. Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fonte.
Yes.
But from now on, we're just gonna call her Val. Okay, like we're just.
I have another name for her. It's not been name dropped in the show.
Are we talking Madam Hydra yet?
I am going Madam Hydra. And I knew the name sounded familiar. And so I had to go back and I'm like, wait a second. I ended up having to go back to a particular season in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too because I thought we had already been introduced to a Madam Hydra. And then I just went down the rabbit hole finding out, Madam Hydra is just a title given to several people. And I'm like, now I got a lot of reading to catch up on. So
Right. I'm not even sure how many people held it throughout the years. But you're right. It is just a kind of a title given to people. Now, doing some research on just Julia and her time in the MCU, I didn't realize she was supposed to premiere in Black Widow. Yeah. So of course, that's gotten delayed. We haven't really seen what that. Do you think this cameo may have hit a little different if we'd have been able to see Black Widow first?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Her character was probably more fleshed out in Black Widow, and we've just not been able to see it yet. So that would have been a nice tie-in, or that would have been a nice tie-in with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Black Widow. Now it's just kind of, whet our appetite a little bit. We want to know more about this person. So it's kind of a cool thing to see it in reverse. We have the brief cameo now, but then we're going to I hope we get a fuller backstory later on.
Right, because I'm wondering if that's not the case, if we may not even heard the name Madam Hydra in the Black Widow movie and already know what she is. But I got some real kind of Nick Fury vibes from her, like when he's first assembling the Avengers, and that's what I really feel like she's there to do. And then I'm like,
great.
Yeah, I think she's trying to assemble her own team, and I think John Walker's kind of her, well, maybe not her first, but the first that we're seeing because we, didn't quite see everything in order. But then I'm like, what was with the blank business card too? Maybe
it's just one of those that has a super secret tiny computer chip in it, and then when it's really needed, it's going to pop up and say, okay, this is the number to call.
Maybe because I know she said just taking the super soldium's the second best decision you've ever made. The first is going to be picking up when I call. Exactly. But I'm like, how is he going to know it's her when she calls? Because I'll be honest, if I see a number I don't know, 9 times out of 10 I don't answer it. What's saying John would answer it?
No.
Unless we're not talking about physical phone calls, unless we're talking about she shows up, be like, okay, John, now's the time.
Okay, I just had a far out idea, and don't quote me on this because who knows. So the business card is blank. What if it's like those Dumbledore's army coins that they gave out in Harry Potter, and
Hmm.
that the information to like meet that person will come up on the thing later on?
That would be interesting. But then you would just assume they keep the business card too.
That's a
Like
very good point.
there's some weird loopholes in it, but I'm like, also, could it be like some sort of tracking device, some kind of like beeper like Fury had for Captain Marvel? Like it's the MCU. Pretty much anything can happen.
Anything can and will have and does. So I mean, we really don't know. Like I said, Marvel's good at sleight of hand.
But I'm like, also, the fact that we're sitting here trying to discuss what a business card means, like, shows people how deep we actually look into every little thing we try to see
Yeah,
in this.
sorry.
Uh, but then there's like part of me that just wants like Jimmy to come back from Falcon and Winter Soldier, just do the card trick with that business card, just because.
Yes, please.
Because it's the weirdest stuff that I think of when it comes to stuff like that. But
Right.
now I'm just like, this made me want to see what her role is in Black Widow even more. Like now, like you said, it kind of whet my appetite, and now I really need to know what all's going on with this character. Because I don't feel like you bring in an actress like Julia just to be like a one-shot cameo would be done. I feel like they got major plans for her, like going down the road. I feel like she's gonna be a very reoccurring character, and honestly, it may be somebody we see again, like the Hawkeye series. It could be some more of the movies. I don't necessarily think it'll be in the Loki series too much because I think that's going to be more of a contained story with the time travel and everything. But we shall see. So see, next thing on my notes, we got Bucky tracking down Zemo.
Man,
And
I
my theory was so far wrong on this. Zemo's making it out alive. I was wrong, wrong, wrong.
yeah, I kind of understand it. I am honestly surprised though that the Dora Milaje is taking him to the raft instead of to Wakanda. But
Mhm.
then again, Zemo was trained by like high operatives to kill like all super soldiers. So he's crafty and wily, and he would probably be able to escape from Wakanda. So, maybe putting him on the raft is a better idea.
Maybe, or maybe it was part of Zemo's plan all along. Like he done knew what was gonna happen because he seemed to have been a step ahead of everybody this whole time. And the fact that he's just like sitting there basically waiting on Bucky, be like, I was wondering when you were gonna get here.
Yeah.
Like maybe it really is part of his plan. Maybe there's something he's needing to go there to get, somebody he needs to go there and meet. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I think Zemo's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. So,
Right. Now, I will admit, when Bucky first showed up and put the gun in Zemo's face, I was like, damn it, I'm right. They're going to kill off Zemo. Yes. But I'm like, wait, I don't want Zemo to die.
right, right. Hey, you froze again.
Did I?
Now you're good. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So edit that little part out after my rant about Zemo dying. Um, but when like Bucky shows up and puts the gun to his head and then pulls the trigger and then it clicks, you're like,
Yeah.
okay. Because I'll admit, I think Zemo's became kind of my like favorite character in this series so far, and I don't even understand why it should not be, but he is.
He's fun. He's funny. And, he's just kind of, he's been there in the background. So it's not somebody you would just like typically root for. But I guess he's just kind of endearing himself to not just the characters in the show, but to like the audience. The audience has gone crazy over Zemo and his dancing and too funny.
I have watched that way too many times. I could probably do the whole dance like beat for beat. Um, Now, my question is with that, we know they're sending him off, so they're not killing him off, so we don't think he's actually gone from the MCU. Do we think they're going to shelve him for a while? And then, like, we won't know for a long time till he comes back? Or do you think they already have kind of a storyline they're wanting to do with him that we're just
I
going to
don't
see?
know. I mean, if they stay true to the comics, Zemo does have like his kind of own Suicide Squad, which would be kind of cool. Maybe, maybe Julia Louise Dreyfus is there to recruit for this little Suicide Squad.
That's kind of where my theory's going, and I'm wondering if Zemo didn't know they were going to take him to the raft, and there's somebody there that Zemo needs a part of this team.
Right.
So she's picking up people, he's picking up people, and basically she just is the Nick Fury of this kind of team Zemo's putting together. Because I feel like with as rich as Zemo is, he's become kind of the Tony Stark of that group that can kind of fund it all.
It's very possible. Do I know if that's going to happen? No, I don't. But I kind of am here for it. I'm kind of enjoying that now.
Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I would be completely okay with a villain-led Marvel movie, like Suicide Squadish, like anti-heroes, like, because, like, what if they do a group of, like, Zemo's quote-unquote Suicide Squad,
Right.
and John Walker, like, him, Zemo, and they're all going after, I mean, I don't even know who the villain would be at that point.
This would be a perfect time for MCU to bring in Deadpool.
Oh my god, yes.
Just the team of anti-heroes. And you've got Deadpool being all sassy and snarky, Zemo being suave and debonair, and then John Walker just being, well, himself. But
Oh god. Oh man. I you don't think you realize how bad I need to see this movie now. Like, I feel like that one's printing money. Printing money. Oh Lord. Okay. So basically the Dormelage take him off to the raft. We're assuming we're gonna see Zemo again. But we'll just have to wait. I think we're done with him for this series, but I don't think we're done with him as the MCU in the whole. So the next scene we kind of cut to is where Sam goes back and talks to Isaiah.
right.
We kind of figured we weren't done with Isaiah just yet, because I felt like they built him too much. It was at the second episode, I think, when we saw Isaiah the first time.
I think so. I'll have to go back in notes, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. But so, like, we kind of, we assumed that this talk was going to happen. And at first, I'm like, is Sam taking Isaiah the shield? Because Sam basically sits him down. He's like, okay, I want to know, like, the whole story, what really happened. So Isaiah's telling him this, like, heart-wrenching story about how basically he did everything Steve did, but because he was black, he got thrown in prison and experimented on. Luckily, he had a nurse take some pity on him that declared him dead so he could kind of get out of there. It was really a heart-wrenching kind of thing. Like,
heartbreaking. Isaiah said, like, exactly, the stars and stripes don't mean nothing to me. And, it's really a heartfelt message to get across, because so many, individuals, like in this series, like Isaiah and the other soldiers that they experimented on with the super serum, their government betrayed them by doing this. And, I completely understand where he's coming from, but because I am not that, how do I word this, Rob? I just, it's not
you're
one of the
not a
things
person
that I
of
know.
color.
Exactly. I am not a person of color, so I can't say that I fully understand what happened, but it's still heartbreaking no matter what.
I say I'm like you, I'm not a person of color either, so I don't feel like I can I could speak to how that would feel.
Mm-mm.
Um, but I think it did give some really good parallels to some like real world issues we're having in this day and age.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a really nice, realistic, clever way for Marvel to kind of deal with these issues in the mainstream. It may make somebody realize that sometimes it can be the little things that can be these racist, nasty things
Right.
uh, people can do. And just by giving special treatment to the white guy, because like we were talking about even before the show started with John Walker, um, if he would have been a black man, would he have got away as scot free as he did? Because I mean, I know they stripped him of his benefits and everything, but they'd have probably thrown him under the prison. To be perfectly honest with you, um, but I did think it was a really well acted scene. It hit you in the feels, and it really made you sit back and just kind of think how people get treated and how it's just not right. This man was a war hero and he deserved better.
Absolutely.
But because like it's funny because he never even like he's so against like you said the stars and the stripes and everything. He don't even want Sam to take the shield out of the bag because he don't even want to see it. Now the scene that kind of I think resonated the most with Sam when Isaiah's talking is when he says no self-respecting black man would even want, and I think that's what leads Sam kind of on the journey for the rest of the episode. I think that was really, really hard-hitting words, and I think that ends up being kind of the quote of the episode, kind of like when Vision said in WandaVision, what was the line he said about
What is grief but love enduring?
Yeah.
I can't believe I remembered that.
But yeah, that I think that was given a lot darker circumstance.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like that it's basically the quote of the episode that kind of pushes the whole story along. So after that, Sam I guess decides he needs some time, so he goes back home, where he probably should have been. To kind of help Sarah, we kind of get some closure on them fixing the boat and all that. Because Sam realizes he's going to call it all these favors.
Oh, yeah.
And we go from such a deep, like, heartfelt scene to this, like, light communities loving everybody. Like, it was just a complete 180 in tone from this because everybody's working together to try to help them fix this boat. And even Bucky comes by to kind of help. And I love the scenes where, like, Sam's trying to do, like, everyday things like tighten up a bolt with a wrench. You can't do it. And Bucky just comes by with the vibranium arms, like, doop, doop.
Well, it's like in that one scene where Sam is twisting like a pipe fitting and fixing that. And Bucky's like, here, let me do it. And he just grabs with his right hand and he just fixes it. And Sam was like, well, why didn't you use the vibranium arm? He's like, well, to be honest, I forget it's there. I'm right-handed. Or it's not my first time. I'm right-handed. And I'm like, that, my sir, is a perfect remark. Perfect. And it's very canonic to comic Bucky, too. He's very snarky. And it's coming through in this show. And it's about time we see that. So.
Now, I'll admit, I really enjoyed the slight, like, flirtation between Bucky and Sarah. Like, I tried to come up with a cute, like, acronym of putting their, like, names together, and I can't come up with one. He's flirting with Sarah. I did think it was really cute. I love how Sam's like, man, stay away from my sister. Like, it really felt like that kind of brotherly bond, because that's totally something a couple of guys would say to each other. But then there's part of it like, I want this to happen. Like, you want Bucky to have a happy ending. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There was a lot of focus on Bucky this episode, which worries me. Because a lot of times when you're trying to focus on a character, specifically Marvel, and you see them having like these real life realizations that, things may suck, but it's going to be okay. And all this like self-exploration, then they die. And I am not prepared for a MCU where Bucky Barnes does not exist. So no, I don't think I'm going to be okay if that happens.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me throw this speculation out there. Okay, what if in the next episode, Bucky goes back to make amends with the guy that Bucky killed his son and kind of tell him what happened, like him and Sam talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and that ends up being your emotional equivalent to "I love you 3000," and that's like Bucky's super happy moment right before they kill him in the final battle.
I'm not going to be okay. No, 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 no.
If that happens,
Although it's something. It is. Man, I hate foreshadowing. That's that's the worst part.
but
Um,
here's the thing too, because we can all attest to this. Even if they were to kill off Bucky, it's the Marvel fake death universe. Like they're always killing everybody and bringing them back.
I
Um,
really hope so. I would
so
like to see I would really like to see Bucky be able to move away from being the Winter Soldier and have a new life, this new hero persona of the White Wolf.
mhm.
And I would like that more, that maybe he's leaving the Winter Soldier behind than, Bucky being killed. But there was a lot of focus on him in this episode, and I'm just like, oh no, no, please don't. So that kind of took a lot of concentration.
If they kill Bucky off next episode, I'm not even sure we can do a show about the finale because you'll just cry the whole time.
Probably.
Probably.
Possibly.
Okay, so the next little scene we get, it's a real short scene, and it's just Sharon talking on the phone. And I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly which language she's talking in.
I think it's French.
Was it French? I couldn't remember right off the top of my head. But I like it's just real quick, and you're like, well, that was shady as hell. Now, I know we find out later in the episode that it was Backtrock she was talking to. But it actually, if you watch the episode with subtitles on,
Mm-hmm.
it tells you that she's talking to
Talking
Backtrock.
to Batroc. That's how I knew to begin with that she was talking to him. I kind of I tend to leave closed captions on, but to be able to see that she was talking to him, I was like, I knew you were shady. I knew it. And just to find out later on that Batroc just wants to kill Sam. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not okay with this. I'm like, you're playing. I don't even think devil's advocate is the word. But no, she's playing both sides to further her gain, which kind of makes me think that she's definitely the power broker.
Because I think it's everything's pointing to her being the power broker, which makes me think even more that she might not be because
Mhm.
everything's pointing toward it. But then I'm also like, could Val be the power broker? Like, you think that would be
Maybe.
possible?
I mean, it's possible. In the comics, Val is a spy, and she's playing both sides. She's
Mm-hmm.
playing both Shield and Hydra. Or is it Leviathan in the run I'm thinking of? I can't remember. It's like one of the two of the three. But yeah, she's like playing both sides, and it could very well be something like that. But what makes me think maybe Sharon is, if not the power broker, someone very high up in that circle.
If she's
It's the
not the
way
power broker, she's
right,
working directly for the power
right.
broker. I think there's no doubt of that.
But it's the way that she's both trying to make deals with both Sam and Batroc, and
Backtrack.
then having and knowing what Batroc wants to do to Sam. If Sam dies, Sharon's probably not going to get her not be able to come back to the States.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, a pardon for Sharon, she wouldn't be getting if he's dead.
Does she want to leave the life she has and go back to the States?
Probably not.
Because like, there's just so much mystery surrounding that, and I don't even know with just one episode left if we've got enough time to even conclude that part of the story, or if that's going to be a plot thread just kind of left hanging for us later. Because
Maybe.
that'd be a whole lot to wrap up in just probably like another hour and a half episode. Because it's very obvious we don't know exactly what she is yet. So I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see. All I gotta say is WTF, Sharon. WTF. So the next thing is we get to probably my favorite part of the whole episode, and it's when Sam and Bucky are kind of working out with the Shield.
Yeah.
And this like amazing, like, I caught like a Rocky training montage of like Sam with the Shield. Like, I really just wanted somebody to dub like Eye of the Tiger to it or something, because it's just too perfect. But it's also the biggest issue I have with the whole episode, because when I started rewatching it, trying to make all my notes and get into it, I'm like, okay, if the Shield's powerful enough, if you throw it at a tree, it'll almost cut the tree down or at least explode a big part of it. I don't think the little pads they put on it are going to stop that shield at all. And then also, if it's that powerful and Sam's barehanding it with no super soldier serum, how's it not just like slicing his hands off?
I know. I don't know. I guess that's kind of like the ultimate of the ultimate frisbee game there. So I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. It didn't bother me as much because this was like the first training montage we get in a Marvel product since Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
So to see that, it did give like the whole Rocky vibe, and I enjoyed seeing Sam learning the shield and doing the gymnastics with the shield. That was it was pretty cool to see, but no, I really didn't think of, hey, it decapitated a guy, and Sam's there catching it barehanded.
Yeah. And see, I also think I'm like, Sam picked it up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes me wonder if he didn't already have some familiarity with the Shield, like when him and Steve were on the run together so long. Because I feel like it would have helped to have your partner know how to use the Shield a little bit too. Because him and Bucky are both awful comfortable with the Shield. I mean, not perfected it yet, but they were both really comfortable with it. So I think maybe Steve may have shown him a thing or two with it.
It's very possible and would probably be a Steve thing to do. And as we've seen also in this episode, there are things that happen behind the scenes with Steve that we don't, find out about until later. So it's very possible that he taught him how to train with the Shield.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of things that we find out that happened behind the scenes, when Bucky makes the comment of when me and Steve discussed what to do with the Shield, I don't know if you had the chance yet. Have you went back and watched those last few minutes of Endgame again?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have been saying since April 26th, 2019, that it wasn't just a random whim of Steve just going to the past. I said no. The way Bucky reacted to that, he was not surprised at all. I said they've talked about it behind the scenes. And I like validation. That is all I'm saying. And I am like so happy. And I'm like, I told you. Actually, I think my words were more like suck it. But yeah, I mean, I knew it had to be because he wasn't running to the control panel saying bring him back, bring him back. That was Sam. Sam had no idea. Bucky said, I'm gonna miss you, pal. And then the whole callback between Steve and Bucky there, where it's don't do anything stupid until I come back. I can't. You're taking all the stupid with you. No, it was obvious that he knew.
Yeah, but it plays so much different knowing exactly, because I went back and I watched it. I was like, oh my god, this goodbye is so different
Yep.
now that you have like behind the scenes context to it, that it kind of just blew my mind.
I think that may be why they put it in the show, because there was such disagreement between fans that either Bucky knew or he didn't know. Some people were in the camp like me. Yeah, he knew he was going. He wasn't surprised at all. And then others were like, no, they didn't know anything about it. I'm like, well, maybe Sam and Hulk didn't, but you know, just yeah.
Mm-hmm. But see, I just think this affirms what we've all kind of known for a while, and that's that Kevin Feige and everybody at Marvel Studios is 8 steps ahead of all of us. Kind of like we were saying, Zemo's playing
Playing
chess while
chess.
everybody
We're
else
all
is
playing
playing
checkers.
checkers.
Yep.
Like we're all playing checkers, and Kevin Feige's playing chess.
No,
So,
I don't even think we're playing checkers. We're playing like poker or something. We have no idea what's going on.
because I'm just like, the man's a genius. Uh, I don't think anybody else could have took, you know, 23 plus films plus all these series and wrapped it into one story. Like, I've heard people say that they'll always worship at the altar of George Lucas. I'll forever worship at the altar of Stan Lee and Kevin Feige. Like, it's a joint one at this point. But
I'm both. I'm both. Star Wars is. I love it. I love all the stories that they give us. I'm happy with every project that comes out, and I'm the same way with Marvel. There's going to be people who hate aspects of some things, and then they'll say, "No, well, I stopped watching after this event." I'm like, why? You've devoted so much time and adoration to this. Just why do that? Anyway, yeah.
now I did see a clip of an interview. I think it was right after Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, Sam, Bucky, and then Kevin Feige was there. And the interviewer brings up, so when are we going to get our Sam and Bucky road trip movie? And Kevin Feige freaks out. He's like, that is a great idea. And I'm like, I wonder if that's
Yep.
where this series was born, was that moment.
Oh, probably. I mean, and there's been a lot of things, and I tend to dive into the fandom of something that I enjoy. There have been nods to a lot of things that a lot of these fans have said online. Especially in Endgame was a fan service movie. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much things that there were so many things that happened in Endgame that literally we have said in chat rooms and on like Tumblr posts and Facebook posts that I'm like, how did they get that if they're not paying attention to what we're saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I have absolute no doubt. Would have I liked to have seen like an actual road trip between the two? Yeah. But I love this show so much more because it does call back to those action sequences that are so predominant and loved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I think they had to have known, probably even from the point of Civil War, just the chemistry these two have, that I think it was inevitable we were going to get something standalone with them. Whether, I mean, eventually, yes, we got the series, but I'd have probably been just as fine if it had been a Falcon and Winter Soldier movie. But I do like the show. To me, it allows us to slow down a little more, because I don't feel like we would have got all the time with like Sam with Sarah fixing up the boat and all that. It had just been more action, 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 little character moment, action, 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 little
Right.
character moment. Where here we've got a lot more character development and stuff out of it, and I think over the course of it, it's just made us love these characters even more than we already did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and just look at it. We all hated Zemo at the end of Civil War, and now he's everybody's favorite. So,
Mm-hmm. Now, I did one other thing, and it may be the dumbest thing to have noticed, and it may mean absolutely nothing. But once Sam kind of goes through the montage and that final time when he catches the shield, if you notice it, he catches it on his left side
yes.
and he
Yes.
exits on his left.
Yes. There's also a scene in the training montage where he's just running down the road and the camera, as it looks, Sam, of course, is on the left side of our screen, but he's got his left wide open. And it's like, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, oh my God, what did you do? What did you do? And, that is just a little bit, even then, a fan service moment, because we all love the phrase on your left.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I picked up on, and I don't know, I guess it's just because I wanted so bad to see Steve run by him at that point. But they mentioned a couple of times in the episode that Steve is gone.
Yeah.
Do you think they were referring to him passing away, or he's just not there? Like, or do you think they said gone so we would speculate on shit like this?
Yeah, probably to speculate on stuff like this. Who knows? Speculation has got him on the moon too. No, ultimately, when they were like very vehement that Steve is gone, I think he's passed away. And there's a good 6 months between the end of Endgame and when we pick up at the beginning of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I mean, it's very real that Steve could have passed away.
I don't want to think about Steve passing away. I want him to be happy on the damn moon base, chilling with Nick Fury.
Hello? I don't want him to be dead either.
But I think we all agree at some point Chris Evans is going to come back. We're going to see.
I want to see him come back as Johnny Storm.
If that happens in Multiverse of Madness,
I would love to see him. If not Johnny Storm, because I know Johnny's younger in the comics and stuff. I think he'd make a pretty damn good Reed Richards, but
I'm still holding out hope for John Krasinski on that. I want that so bad. Like, I am in the camp of him and Emily Blunt are absolutely perfect.
They're perfect. They're amazing.
And it helps that they're like great human beings too, so that you could root for them all the time. Okay, before we get off on that tangent, because that could be a whole damn another video by itself. We cut to the vote going on in New York about the Patch Act. And we get a scene of Carly sitting on a bench, and that's when Batroc shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And, he gives her the case with all, was it weapons it was in it? I can't remember.
I think it was like some high-tech kind of weapons, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he basically just says, I'm here to kill the Falcon. That's what I'm for. And you're like, oh, God. So then you realize Sharon was talking to him, so Sharon set this all up. So we're like, is she double-crossing Carly? Is she double-crossing Sam? Is she playing both sides? Like, we don't really know.
Yeah. It's not checkers anymore, Rob. We're playing backgammon.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I can't figure it all out. I don't know what the end game is with that. But I'm sure we're going to see that kind of all implode.
I mean, whatever they do, it's gonna be a masterpiece. However it goes down, and that's just how Marvel does. And I'm excited for next week. I'm not ready for it to be the last episode, though.
I don't want it to be the last episode,
right?
But see, then my question is I don't think this is gonna be as definitive of an ending as WandaVision was, and I'm wondering if there is the possibility we could get a season 2, because I feel like this could be an ongoing story.
If they do, I really think that they should rebrand it and not be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it definitely, if we don't see something kind of at the end, Captain America will return in, whatever movie is next and slated for that particular role, then, there could possibly be, a season 2. But I don't think it should be called the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because he's effectively retired that image. So
right. So then my question would be, would you want it to be like Captain America and a White Wolf, or would you just want to call it Sam and Bucky?
Sam and Bucky. The Sam and Bucky show. Call back to all the sitcoms from WandaVision.
Sam and Bucky. But when Carly's beating Backtrack, she's on this app and she's like, "Oh, we've got people everywhere," and she does like this little kind of whistle thing, and all of a sudden, like everybody in this park starts to get up, and you start realizing. I mean, they've told us before that they've got people everywhere, that so many people are getting behind this movie, but I don't think I realized
Just
how
the
big,
extent of how much,
how much support she has for this cause. Like, I mean, I understand Sam's powerful, Bucky's powerful. Are they powerful enough to stop a whole army of people, though?
Well, at least we know that not all of this army of people are supers.
Right, it's just a
So
small
that's
handful of them that's
it's
left.
just a small handful that are the supers. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. To me, this will just be, in the middle of a movie. This event would be, and we would have like another hour and a half to go to kind of wrap everything up. Um, I am utterly at a loss of what's going to happen with that, because there are just so many people who are behind this particular movement, and I really want to see how it plays out, and I hope it works out well, because we've discussed before that Carly and the Flag Smashers, they have the right idea. They're just implementing it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we go on to see their ideals pass on more peacefully than like this whole, what you're saying, resistance army.
Right, because I'm like you. I'm at a little bit of a loss because I'm like, is Carly and the Flag Smashers going to be the big final battle? Are we going to see John Walker come back for a final battle? Is the Power Broker going to be the final battle? And I actually did see a really interesting theory of who somebody thought the Power Broker may be, and it's somebody I never even thought of. But what if it's Justin Hammer?
I don't doubt it. I thought he was in prison.
I mean, he may still be, but I mean, after the blip and everything, who knows? Because I feel like he would be powerful enough, have the technology to do all this, and be smart enough, and maybe he's playing everybody, like too.
I wouldn't put it past him because of what or how he showed himself in Iron Man 2. It's a good possibility that something like that's going to happen. And even if he's not, he would not hesitate to say, "Yeah, that was my idea." Should somebody come up and say it was Hammer all along. So
it was Hammer all along. Yes, that's our new jingle. But I don't know, like. I don't even know who's going to be the big baddie. I don't know what the final battle's going to be. But what if like we get the battle at the first of the episode, like we've got everything, and that's like the end of the action for the series, and the rest of it's just exposition and character development for the rest of it. Or like you're saying, what if they kill off Bucky in the first 10 minutes of the next episode? And then like it's the fallout of the Fall of the Winter Soldier.
No! Don't let me even think that. We're not putting that out into the universe, okay? We're not. Just no. I don't know. With the way things have been going, I think they're going to switch it up on us. I don't think we're going to get action this first part. Because what we've seen, we've had a major action sequence, and then character development, a little bit of action, and then a cliffhanger. So I think maybe they're going to start out like a little bit, opposite way this time. We're not going to have the big battle until like the middle to end of the show. I really, I don't know what I would really like to know what would happen. I wish I had that kind of psychic ability to kind of figure things out ahead of time. But until, Friday, it's just all speculation. And I may break my rule. I may end up reading spoilers when I first wake up.
Now that I won't do because I want to kind of see it all myself. Um, but we already kind of know where Sam was talking to Torres, that he's figured out where Carly is in New York, that they're going to try to interrupt this vote. And earlier in the episode, when the Dormelage are taking Zemo off, Bucky does ask him, he's like, hey, I need one more favor. And they gave him this case that he gives to Sam. And then, so Sam grabs the case there at the end, and he's opening it. And then we cut before we even get to see what's in there. And all I can think is, what's in the box? Like, I had to know, like, what's in the box? I do think that it will be a Captain America inspired costume, but I think it's going to be a Captain America inspired Falcon costume. I think he's still going to have the wings, the power of flight, all that, because I think that's kind of Sam's fighting style. Because
I think it's going to be a callback to Sam's actual comic Captain America uniform, which it's got the wings to it. And I would really like to see that because, Sam's an amazing fighter in the air. And from the training montage, we can see that he has the ability to be an amazing fighter on the ground. Put those two together, and he's almost unstoppable.
Yep. I think it's going to be... Now, my question is, do you think we'll open the next episode with Sam in the costume, or do you think we're going to have to wait for a reveal on it?
I can tell you what I would like, and I would like to see Sam standing there in front of a mirror, kind of like modeling it out. But no, I don't think we're going to see it until later in the episode.
Now, I'll tell you what I don't want to see is, like, you remember, like, in the later 90s when they did, like, Batman and Robin, and there's, like, all them, like, putting on, they're, like, zooming in on the different spots. Like, I don't want to see that.
No.
Because I would rather just see him show up and battle with it, or him confronting Carly in it. That's how I want to be introduced to it. Unless they do like a little tease like they did in one of the X-Men movies where Wolverine opened the case and it was like his classic costume kind of sitting in there. If they show us that way but don't show us like the full thing, I think that would be real interesting. But I think we may open the next episode with Bucky going to make amends and Sam calling him and telling him where to go because he told Sam to call him whenever he finds out where Carly are, he'd be there.
Yeah. And with Carly already being in New York and Bucky will be in Brooklyn, that's just another tick in my thoughts that we may be seeing the end of Bucky here, which to me it doesn't make sense logically because Sebastian Stan has told us how many movies he's got under his contract, and we have a lot more. So, I would like to see that play out a little bit more, but, if this is the end for Bucky Barnes, it's been one hell of a ride, and I swear to God, if he doesn't get redemption, I'm just going to scream.
I think we'll see him get redemption. As much as it is fun as it is to speculate about, I don't think they're going to kill him off. I think they got too many plans for him.
You may need to text me that every day until Friday just to kind of keep me sane.
If he does die, though, I'm just pausing it right there and be like, "Are you okay?" Please. Like that's where we're gonna start that if that happened. But it's like we were saying. I don't know where they're gonna go with this. I don't know how it's gonna. I don't even know if it's really gonna end with this episode, if it's just gonna set up another season. Because it really may.
Right. And if they do, it's great. But, as everything I've seen so far, all the Marvel Disney Plus movies are just going to be like the one and done things. Mm-hmm. I would like to see more of this episode because the chemistry that Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan have, like, off camera is electric. And they bring that to the screen. And you can tell that they're friends in real life, and yet they're trying to be these whole frenemies, on screen, and it plays off very well because they're just such great actors.
They really are. Now, see, I'm wondering now. I'm like, okay, so what's the next few Marvel movies we got coming up? We got Black Widow. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of already figured out how that ties
Right,
in because it was supposed to have already happened.
right.
Um, you've got Eternals. I don't think that's going to play in at all.
Well,
Uh,
we've got in the new Spider-Man coming out in November.
that's where I was getting to. What if, because they're in New York, Spider-Man makes a cameo in this final episode, and it sets up the events of that? Because we already assumed WandaVision set up Doctor Strange Multiverse of
Right.
Madness. What if this ties in so it's all one big giant, and that just kind of leads into part of it too?
And anything is possible, it is. However, with the way that Spider Man Far From Home ended up, I think, Peter Parker and Spider Man are just going to try to lay as low as they can because it's already been announced to the world, hey, this 17-year-old kid is this vigilante hero. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe
So,
he's trying to lay low. He may not even be in New York anymore. Well, he may just be since it's Spider-Man No Way Home, or maybe not. I don't know. That's a good question.
that's to say, there's a lot that could happen because, Lord, because I do think it's a good possibility we see Torres pop back up in that final fight and show up as the actual Falcon. So I
Right.
think we'll have, the Winter Soldier, White Wolf, whichever you want to call him at that point. I think we'll have, of course, Captain America, Sam.
Right.
And I think we'll have Falcon show up. Like I said, we may get another Avenger cameo popping up. I've seen a lot of people speculate that we may see something with the scrolls coming up in this final episode. Like everybody's trying to play every angle to it. But I think they've left us to the point now, like we were just saying, we don't know where it's going to go. We're excited
Right.
to see where it does go.
Yep.
And all I want to know is what's in the damn box. I need to see what's in the box.
Well, at least we're like under the same like conclusion that it's the suit. It's Sam's suit, and for Bucky to ask that of the Doras and the Wakandans, who said you may need to stay out of Wakanda for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a big thing for him to kind of take back and be like, okay, I know I've wronged you, but can you do me just one more favor?
Right, right. And if it had been for anybody else but Sam, I don't even know if they would have done the favor because I feel like that was more of a favor to Sam than it
Yeah.
was to Bucky, really. Um, but that kind of ended the episode, and I'll be danged if I didn't call it. There was a post-credit scene this
Yeah.
week. You start hearing the hammer beating, and here is our Dollar General Captain America making his own shield.
But I mean, and like the hammer clanking, I just looked, I like hung my head in dismay and I said they did not try to do that parallel. Because of course, though that clanking goes back to the end of Endgame,
Mm-hmm.
where you hear the clanking of Tony hitting the anvil in the first Iron Man that started all this.
Now,
And I'm like,
are
they
we
are
a
not
hundred
trying to
percent
parallel
sure
this.
that that was a clip of Tony doing that in the first movie? Did they ever 100% come out and
Yeah,
say
they
that
they
was?
came out and said it was the clanking of Tony working in the cave building the first Iron Man suit. So
So I'm just like, okay, so now we're going there. So that means it's obvious John Walker's coming back at
right,
some point. And I think this is the complete birth of U.S. Agent. I don't think there's any way around that now. And
right.
actually, somebody else pointed out something too. I didn't realize that John's Captain America outfit didn't have any
Any
white in it.
white in it? No, it didn't. And of course, white in like the whole color spectrum means like this innocence and purity. He had zero white in his outfit, and I'm like, I'll be damned. The bastards were telling me all along that this guy was going to be evil. Not that I didn't know it, but still.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes the most obvious thing ends up being true with Marvel, but then other times they misdirect you so much you just never know. But I think we
Yeah.
all kind of knew what John Walker was going to
Oh,
be. Um, but oh man, I can't wait to see. Like, I want to see what his new costume's going to be now. I really do. I want to
I think
see
it
it.
may be like a true play towards the U.S. agent, the black and the red.
Mm. But definitely, it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes, where all this
Yeah.
leads, and how it may tie in to everything else too. Because I mean, we got a lot of movies and stuff coming up. We may even get some other cameos we don't even know are coming yet.
Yeah, like there's a ton of movies coming out within the next, what, 3, 4 years they've announced so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they are really thinking so far ahead. And there goes along with the whole chess analogy.
Yep.
They know what's going to happen well before we do, despite the fact we may, know everything about the comics, and then them just like misdirect, like typical.
I do love how Marvel takes the ideas and the
Mm,
themes from the comics and makes them work for their cinematic universe. Like, they give homage to all of it, but not
like,
just word
exactly.
for word recreate it. And I think that's what keeps it so fresh and so
And
good.
that's the key. And I can't, is it the beginning or somewhere towards the end? I can't remember. But what it actually says is like based on the characters from Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Any superhero show or movie will do that because it's not going to be the exact plot line. To go to a completely different universe, Arrow did that. I mean, there were so many deviations to that show, characters that weren't even involved with Oliver Queen, and it's the one thing that is true for everything. It's going to be based on, not a complete rewrite or a
Mm-hmm.
complete storytelling.
Retelling. Yeah. But okay, guys, that has been our spoiler discussion of episode 5 of the Disney Plus series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm Rob. This is Jenna. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, comment, tell us your theories, your thoughts. If you like what we had to say, if you hate what we had to say, just let us know. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.